Hi everyone, and welcome to Mare Cruises Solo. I wanted to do something a little bit different for my final video on the Celebrity Beyond. Now, I did vlog a little bit on the final day, but the last 2 days I really didn't do much filming, and so I thought I would do a little bit of a different approach and give you my thoughts post-cruise and include some clips where it makes sense from my final few days and throughout the entire cruise. If you're new here, my name is Meredith and I cruise solo. And usually I bring you with me on my cruises and show you what it's like to be a solo traveler. But today, I thought I would do something a little bit different for my final summary video of the Celebrity Beyond. So I just returned from a 6-day Caribbean cruise on the Beyond, and it was amazing. I really don't have any negatives about the cruise at all, but I did want to give you my thoughts and a couple of perspectives on the comparison between Celebrity and the other cruise lines that I've cruised on. So for context, I have cruised on Norwegian, Virgin Voyages, Holland America, and now Celebrity. So I still have many other cruise lines to compare to and to experience, but after 27 cruises now, I do feel like I have a pretty good sense of what cruising is like and generally what to expect on a ship. And so I just wanted to share some of my thoughts because I thought the Celebrity experience was unique and different and in very good ways. So I'll get into it. So to start with, I wanted to include a couple of clips from my last few days on board, one being the final volleyball game between crew and guests. So they had some of the officers on board join in to play against guests and got to participate a little bit in that. And so I'll throw in some clips here and show you what that was like. Now, another highlight of the entire cruise was, of course, Captain Kate's martini pour, and this was on the second to last night. So they had the cruise director come out and do a big announcement. I did record part of that. I'll show you that. And Captain Kate, in her red Louboutin stiletto heels, got up on top of the martini bar and did the martini pour. Infamous. If you follow her on social media, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll show you those clips now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, very good evening to you. Welcome to the beautiful Grand Plaza tonight. Oh my goodness, have we got a show in store for you. And you know, some of you may have already noticed, some may not, but Captain Kate's in the house tonight. Now, phenomenal. Martini bartenders, everyone, put your hands together, let's do it for the Chandelier Show!
Now, on my final night of the cruise, I was fortunate enough to get a front row seat at the Martini Bar for the Bartender's Martini Bar show. And it was actually really quiet in there, it wasn't crowded. I should have been packing just like everybody else probably was on the cruise, but I wasn't quite ready to call it an end yet. So let me show a couple of clips from the very last night of the cruise. Now, our final port day on this cruise was Bimini, Bahamas, and I have been to Bimini once before with Virgin Voyages. And really the big thing to do is go to the Resorts World Beach Club. Now, it is part owned by Virgin Voyages. If you cruise there with Virgin, you have access to the beach club for free. With Celebrity, because they are not part owner, you do have to pay for a day pass. It's around $50. With Virgin, you get lunch included. So there's food there at the beach club and you get that included. With Celebrity, there's nothing included. So your drink package doesn't work if you have a drink package, and there is no food complimentary, so you do have to pay extra for that. I felt like it really wasn't worth getting off the ship in Bimini because I had already been to the beach club. It was a beautiful day, but my intention for cruising on Celebrity Beyond was not for the ports. The whole reason I did this cruise was for the ship and to experience Celebrity Cruise Line and the Beyond, which I really felt like I got to experience all of that. We had great weather the whole trip, and I just loved the onboard experience so much that I did not feel like I wanted to get off in port. There's just so much offered on the ship. I mean, the rooftop is absolutely stunning. It was one of my favorite areas. I spent a lot of time up there, and on the very last day, I ended up hanging out right by the plunge pools that overlook the side of the ship by the rooftop, and it's such a beautiful area. There are shaded spots if you want to get out of the sun. There's the beautiful sunset bar at the back of the ship that overlooks the aft and the water, and it's just gorgeous. So I spent a lot of my time up there, and then that was it. That was the last night. Bimini was the last night, and then we were on our way back to Fort Lauderdale. I'm sure there are lots of YouTube videos out there if you want to see the beach club. It's a very popular location. Virgin Voyages goes to that on almost every one of their Caribbean itineraries, or many of their Caribbean itineraries, so definitely check out some of those videos if you want to see what the beach club is like. Now let's go through some categories of cruising in general. I'll tell you what my experience was like on Celebrity Beyond. So the very first thing I want to tell you about is that I was apprehensive about cruising on Celebrity as a solo, and I had heard all kinds of things prior to going on Celebrity. That there was some judgment, that people were, a little weird with you, and that you got excluded from things, and that the crew didn't treat you well. I've heard all of these things about Celebrity, but I can honestly say I didn't experience any of that. Not from staff or crew or other guests, not at all. In fact, I made so many friends on this trip. Of course, there were groups, there were couples, there were other solos. I met a lot of people on this cruise. And I'll tell you something that I think is actually important to know, because as a solo traveler, you always want to go into a vacation thinking that you're going to have a good time, you're going to meet people. That's not always the case. Not every cruise is created equally, and not every cruise is the same. And there have been cruises in the past, more often on the shorter cruises, where I don't meet anybody. I don't really make connections. I don't meet other travelers. I don't make friends, and it's not for lack of trying, and it's not that I'm not necessarily intentionally not trying to go out and meet people, but sometimes the connections just aren't there, and you don't vibe with people the way that you do on other cruises. So, I think it's important to know that not every cruise is going to be amazing. Not every cruise is going to end up being, the type of vacation where you meet people and you keep in touch and you talk for years to come. That's not the case with every single cruise. So you kind of have to go into it with an open mind. There might be amazing moments and there might be some moments where you're a little lonely, and that's okay. That is okay. That is kind of just what solo travel is all about. And I am very fortunate in that I don't ever really feel lonely because I love my own company. I love my, ability to entertain myself. And most of the time what that means is I'm reading a really good book on my Kindle, and that is perfectly fine. And everybody is free to do whatever they want to entertain themselves, to go out and make friends if you want to. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine too. So with that said, I really do think that the negative feedback I've heard about Celebrity and how you're treated as a solo traveler, I just didn't feel that. Of course, this was my only Celebrity cruise so far. I'm doing another one in just a couple of weeks. So we'll see if there's a different experience on a different Celebrity ship. I personally can't say I felt any negativity on Celebrity as a solo cruiser. This is a good segue into solo cabins. So on Celebrity Beyond and all of the other Edge class ships in Celebrity's fleet do have solo cabins. They are solo infinite verandas. So if you're familiar with Celebrity's product, you know that they don't have traditional balconies except for in certain categories, and you do have to pay quite a premium for a traditional balcony on an Edge class ship. But most of their cabins are infinite verandas, which means they're enclosed and they have a sliding window that goes up and down that gives you the sense that you're in sort of balcony field, but it's not quite the same. So I did book a solo infinite veranda for this cruise, and you do pay a bit of a premium, but in general I found that you're not fully paying double, but you are paying a premium, and that's just how the cruise line feels like they're making back the perceived amount of onboard spend that would have come from 2 people cruising in the cabin compared to 1. I loved the cabin. I really did. I thought it was fantastic. I, of course, missed having a traditional balcony, but I knew what I was getting into. I did research ahead of time. I expected the differences between the infinite veranda and the regular balcony. The only downside with the cabin was that it was partially obstructed. So that means that there was a lifeboat outside that blocked part of the view. I also knew that going in, and unfortunately I believe that for all of the solo balconies on this ship and probably on the other Edge class ships are obstructed. So that is unfortunate, and kind of does give you the sense that, like, as solo travelers are looked upon as undeserving of, a good view. But that said, I still really loved the cabin. I felt like it was spacious. It was just like a regular infinite veranda, with the main difference being that the size was a little bit smaller and they took out the extra couch area. So the only sitting area in the cabin was in the very far end of the cabin. They had 2 chairs and a table. I thought it was perfectly well sized. The bed was comfortable. It was a good size. And one of the perks of the bed was that it was not 2 beds pushed together, but an actual full 1 bed, which was fantastic. Would I sail on in this cabin again on Celebrity? Absolutely, no questions asked. The next category I'll talk about, since we're on the topic of cabins, is the ship in general. I will be very honest with you and say that this ship was probably my favorite ship I've ever cruised on. And that is, it's a big statement. I absolutely loved the ship, and I'll tell you why I loved it. So some people go on cruises to be entertained constantly. So things like water slides and flow riders and rock climbing, none of that appeals to me. That is not what I cruise for. I'm not looking for an amusement park when I cruise. That said, I do enjoy a variety of onboard activities and venues. And one thing I really liked about the Beyond is they had lots of multi-use and multi-purpose venues. So there were so many areas where you could lounge and chill and relax and you just have a drink or have a coffee. And I really thought that they did a great job of separating out all of the venues on board evenly, so that everything was spaced out so well. I really loved the solarium. This is the first ship that I have cruised on that has a solarium. I know that that is a popular venue on a lot of the Royal Caribbean and Celebrity ships. I've not cruised on Royal Caribbean before, but I do have to say I loved the solarium. It did rain a few times on our trip, and I thought that was a great spot to kind of get away but still feel like you're you know, you have visibility of the outdoors. You have the glass roof and you have the big glass wall windows. I also have already talked about this, but I loved the rooftop. Loved the rooftop. Everything about it. There are so many cool spots to go and sit. There weren't a lot of areas with shade, but they did have umbrellas, so you could find shade if you wanted to. I also loved the plunge pools. A lot of times on the upper decks on ships, they don't have pools, they have hot tubs. And when you're cruising in the Caribbean, the last thing that I want to do is get into a hot tub when it's 90 degrees outside and humid. I want to get into a pool. I want to cool off. This ship offered that. And so I've already talked about the plunge pools, but thumbs up. Really loved those. And then the pool deck. The pool deck was very open and spacious, and I loved that they did pool activities and not just the traditional like sexy legs and, you know, that kind of thing that I'm kind of tired of, to be honest, on the cruise ships. They did different things. The officers versus guests pool volleyball game, such a cool way for her to have the crew interact with guests, and it just felt like they really did such a good job of changing things up and doing unique activities. And I think that rolls us right into the other category of shows and entertainment and onboard activities. And I thought that the entertainment staff did a wonderful job. They had several people who were responsible for activities, and so they would host, they would facilitate games. So there was one venue on the ship, the club, that was very multi-purpose. So at night it really was a club. They, you know, they played music, there's a dance floor, all that, there's a bar in there. But then they also had a lot of games. So they would do sort of a version of trivia that is not just writing answers down on paper, which again, like, everyone loves trivia, but after a while you kind of get sick of trivia and you want to do something a little bit different. And so they did a version of trivia that was interactive. They actually had people come out onto the dance floor. Everyone would gather in the middle. They put a question up on the screen, and then you would either go left or right for true or false, that kind of thing. So there were various games that were played throughout the cruise, sort of like that. They were interactive, they were engaging. This entertainment staff were fantastic, so personable and friendly and nice. I just have nothing but great things to say about them and the activities. Now on the entertainment side, the shows, wow. I said this in every video, but I was blown away by the entertainment. And maybe it's just on Celebrity Beyond, maybe it's just the Edge class, maybe it's all celebrity ships. I'll find out here soon as I go on a smaller celebrity ship on a different class in a week or two. But I was truly floored by the amount of production shows that were on board and the quality. I mean, the stage was so versatile, and they had this huge like LED screen behind that changed and moved, and it was incredible. I loved every single show that I saw on board. I would go back and watch them all again. Post-pandemic cruising has changed. And I know that on Norwegian, they've cut back on a lot of things, one of them being entertainment and production shows. And I don't go see shows live very often. And so on cruises, it's sometimes the only time I get to see live entertainment. And so it is refreshing and exciting to see that there are still cruise lines and ships out there that are still showing incredible production shows and entertainment. And, you know, they're doing it right. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Okay, the next category, I think the second to last category that I'm going to talk about in this video is the price and upgrades. So the base price of the cruise, you have the option to either pay just for the cruise fare, or you can upgrade to the added upgrades like Wi-Fi and the basic drink package and things like that. I did do that initially. So you pay, I don't know, a couple $100 extra on your original booking to include the basics. So you get unlimited internet, and then you get the basic drink package. Now with the basic drink package, you only get drinks under $10, so $10 or less. And there aren't a lot of drinks on the menu that are $10 or less. So you have the option ahead of the cruise to upgrade to the premium drink package. You can also do this while on board, but when I booked ahead of the cruise, they were offering a $6.99 per day upgrade option to go from the basic drink package to the premium drink package. And the premium gives you the access to anything $17 and below. So I think it's worth it because you're gonna end up paying extra for every drink that you purchase that's over $10. So if you're ordering $12, $13, $15 drinks, that extra above the $10 is gonna add up. If it's gonna add up to more than what you would pay for the upgrade per day, I think it's worth doing the upgrade. So I paid $6.99 per day ahead of the cruise to upgrade. Now, while I was on board on the first day, I heard it everywhere, every bar I went, every bartender I saw, every person serving drinks was talking to people about upgrading. So if they didn't already have the premium package, they were being talked into it. They were charging $15 per day to upgrade. So it's actually a 50% discount depending on when you book to upgrade ahead of time. And I think that that $7 is definitely worth it. I also think that their drinks were very well priced. I didn't feel like they were overly expensive or, you know, higher than what you'd find on any other cruise line. So pricing wise, I thought everything was priced pretty well. There was a lot of onboard shopping. I did not feel like I was being pressured into shopping on board, or I didn't feel like I was getting pressured to go sign up for another cruise at their future cruise desk, but there were a lot of shops. So if you are interested in shopping while on board, you definitely could do that. I did not really go to the casino on this cruise. I'm not a casino person. I almost never go. There's nothing there for me other than spending money. I'm not lucky when it comes to things like that, so I would just lose money, and what's the point of that, right? I just put that money towards another cruise. So one thing I will say about the casino though on Celebrity is that it is non-smoking, instead of several other cruise lines who do have smoking sections, either open air or enclosed on their ships. I found that Celebrity did not, and I loved the fact that it was completely non-smoking. I think other cruise lines should follow suit. And then the final subject, which is one of my favorites, and that is the food and dining options on Celebrity Beyond. I did not have a bad meal on this entire cruise. Everything was delicious. It was, without question, definitely a level up compared to the other cruises that I've taken. I thought the buffet was fantastic. I didn't even go to the buffet until like day 3 or 4 because there were so many other options. For breakfast, there are pastries and like muffins and things like that, baked goods at Cafe Al Baccio, but the buffet is a great option. There's a tip to go all the way back to the very back of the buffet where there is additional seating because it can get crowded during the regular meal times. One other thing I really liked about the buffet is they had a vegetarian and vegan section with specific dishes that were labeled as vegetarian and vegan, and I also really loved the stir fry section. I didn't discover it until the second to last day. Unfortunately, I would have been there every single day for lunch had I known about it. And the pizza place at the very back of the ship. So if you go all the way through the buffet to the very back, you'll find the pizza place, and the pizza was delicious. Loved the buffet area, and the pizza was very good. The main dining rooms, I've talked about this, but there are 4 complimentary main dining rooms on Celebrity Beyond. They are different cuisines, slightly different cuisines with some shared dishes. The regular specials of every night will change, but then they have the consistent menu items that stay the same that you can order from any restaurant. I did find that if there was a dish on another menu that you really liked, they would be able to bring it to you from the other restaurant. So I thought that the way it was laid out was great. They had 2 restaurants on either side, 2 decks across. So they were all located nearby, but they did all have their own galley. I learned that in the behind the scenes tour. Thought that was pretty interesting. I had assumed that they all shared the same galley, but no, they each have their own individual kitchen. The only specialty dining that I did on this ship was Raw on 5, this sushi place, and I thought it was really good. I didn't eat much there because I wasn't that hungry because I had stir fry for lunch one day and didn't leave enough room for dinner, but it was very good. The service was fantastic. The other thing I'll note just in general about the dining, I have always cruised on cruise lines where they don't do shared dining. I was asked on the very first night when I went to the first complimentary main dining room if I wanted to share a table or have my own table, and I always choose to sit by myself. I bring my book and I read during dinner, so I don't particularly have any interest in sharing a table with strangers at dinner. I know some people like that. But they did give me the option, and so I chose to have my own table. I always had a great spot. They put me in a 2-person, you know, like tucked away, quiet area on the ship, and I had fantastic service. That you have your own dedicated waiter and assistant waiter, and there's a sommelier in every restaurant dedicated to just that restaurant. So from a food perspective, still dreaming about some of the dishes that I had on this cruise, specifically the baked brie. It will live rent-free in my mind forever, and I can't wait to try it again. Now, I did film an outro while I was on the ship, and so I'm gonna throw it back to former me in the past to sign off on this video and give you my final thoughts on the Celebrity Beyond. Well, I'm back to the cabin on our final night of this 6-day cruise on Celebrity Beyond, and I am so bummed that it's come to an end. I will be bringing you more videos on the comparison between Celebrity and the other cruise lines that I have sailed on. That is where this video is coming to an end, so please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching, and consider subscribing for notifications about new videos, because I have a lot more fun trips planned, not just cruises, but all kinds of other things planned in the future. Please come along with me as I bring you those videos. And with that, I will say good night. Thanks for watching and happy cruising.